Hey guys, welcome to a new vlog because I'm going to be starting my spoiler-filled vlog for Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. So I am going to be finally reading this one. I don't know. I don't know what to think. I'm not especially looking forward to it because I was kind of struggling with the previous one within this series. And so I'm kind of hoping that I can fall back in love with it. The first one was like a pleasant surprise. I was expecting not to like it at all. And I actually had a real fun time with it. It was just like light entertainment, but real good entertainment at that. But with the second one, I then got quite disappointed. And so for each of these books, you can see my spoiler-filled vlog, and I will link those down below. But so I've had an up and down road with this series so far, and so I'm not entirely sure what to expect of the third one. I already know something to some extent because I already know a piece of information that I think will be revealed within this book because I've already read The Secret History, and when you read The Secret History, it says it mentions light spoilers for Bands of Mourning, so I am assuming that something in The Secret History is going to tie back to this story, clearly. So what are my expectations? I'm expecting for us to dive back into the character of the suit a little bit more. I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't really have him play a prominent role within book number 2, and I expect that the revelation of book number 2 that, his love interest, Leslie, I think, actually was a Kandra all along, and that he ended up killing her by the end of that book. I'm expecting that that will also have some sort of a fallout within this book, but aside from that, I don't really know what to expect. I haven't really looked at the back of this story. I'm expecting another big case and then some overarching world elements. So let's just do it. Let's just dive in. Hey guys, so I finished part 1 yesterday, and I must say I'm really enjoying it so far. I cannot really pinpoint what about this works better than the second one for me, but I guess in part it is because there's sort of like hope or anticipation of the magic system being expanded upon. We've had this whole passage about the magic system and about how they want to find a way to use one person's investiture, one person's ability, and then find a way for somebody else to be able to use it. And more specifically, what they're interested in is making people allomancers or making people feruchemists. And so we've seen this at work in Mistborn Era 1 when Elend was turned into a allomancer because of something that he ingested in the Well of Ascension. And so this is kind of the power that they want to be able to replicate now. And so I find that very interesting. And for that, they're basically going to look for the Bands of Mourning, which are basically the metal minds of the Lord Ruler, which is intriguing me. That's very much intriguing me, and I cannot really say why that intrigues me more than the second book in this series did. But yeah, with this one already, I'm also like reaffirming the belief that I'm liking Steris a lot more now that we're getting to see a little bit more of her. So because Wax is going to marry her, and he was attempting to marry her at the beginning of this book, we do spend a little bit more time with her and get to see the way that her brain works and the way that she sees the world, and I find that very interesting. I think that she's a very fascinating and interesting character, and I would actually quite enjoy it if they end up together. I think I was kind of assuming that, that's just how things had evolved now, that, the sort of like attraction between Wax and Marcy had kind of disappeared maybe, and that, at this point in time, we are moving forward with that combination with Wax and Steris, but it seems like we're still gonna do that little bit of a love triangle. It's not really a love triangle, but so we're still gonna explore that possible relationship between Marasi and Wax. And personally, I'm not entirely a fan of that because I find that to be a little bit, expected. It is what is expected. What we are expecting is for Wax to realize that he is actually in love with Marasi, and that even though he's got an obligation to Steris and he feels like he owes it to Moralcy not to have her marry somebody as broken as him or something like that. I feel like we are expecting that to be the happy ending, and so I would love for that to not be the way that this story is going to evolve. But so yeah, I am listening to it on audio. No idea whether that is actually contributing to the reason why I'm enjoying it more or why I'm finding it easier to fly through it. You know, potentially because I am kind of multitasking with some gaming in the meantime. It also means that I can stick at it longer than I would perhaps do with the physical reads. But I'm also not really struggling, you know. It is also not like I want to put the audiobook off at some point because I'm having difficulties focusing on it or anything like that. And that's definitely what physically happened with the second one, that I often in the middle of a chapter was already kind of wishing for the chapter to be over, basically. So very happy that we're having a very different experience so far with the third book, and hopefully this will continue this way. Yes, to Milan and Wayne getting together. I already said that in my spoiler-filled vlog for Shadows of Self, that I wanted to see that happening, and so I'm very happy that we finally see that happening, and I wouldn't mind that being a sort of like stable coupling or anything like that. But so, what has happened since the last time I updated you guys? So we had a big fight on the train, and there was this device being used that disables elementic powers. But that very much reminds me of a scene that we then also get in another Cosmere book, which I won't refer to, but then definitely caused a lot of emotional anxiety for me when that happens. And so here, luckily, it didn't have the same effect on me personally. I didn't fear for our character's life the way I did in the other book. But so it's interesting to see that reappear within this world as well, to have another type of, you know, power canceling device. I think it's a very interesting invention to raise stakes within these sort of like battle sequences. And yeah, I'm really enjoying Steris a whole lot. You know, she came to the rescue, even though she is, you know, not a fighter or anything like that, and just having her be prepared for every possible scenario, and so being the one who has like everything with her that is needed, practically speaking, for certain things. It's just really making me fall in love with her. And I'm actually falling out of love with Moralcy a little bit more, because she's kind of the more judgmental, I guess, person within the book at this point in time. She's the one who's often, you know, the voice of standardized society, the voice of normalcy, let's say it like that. And so as a consequence, she's sometimes judgmental where she shouldn't be judgmental. And so I'm actually finding myself getting annoyed with her a little bit more often than I had previously been doing. We also got a really cute scene between Steris and Wex, which just reinforces the idea that I really want these two to end up together as an actual match. She clearly shows that she understands Wex very well, and that, you know, she might understand him better than he does, that she knows how to make him interested in things. And so there's this very cute scene in which they're going over accounting together in order to figure out the clue of, you know, what is wrong in the books, where did those few coins disappear to those few coins that are different between the reports and the actual status of the coffers, you know. So I thought that was just super cute, and just one of the many interactions in this book between these two characters that makes me go like, they are perfect for one another, and I want them to really realize that there is a romantic involvement there, and that it isn't just a marriage of convenience. So, as I said, I'm really enjoying it so far. I don't have any of the struggles that I had with book 2 at this point in time, so yay me, very happy about that. And you know, I am in principle in the middle of a chapter, but I was listening to it on my bicycle ride, and so I didn't fully listen to it, so I'm going to start it over again. But Hoyt shows up. Hoyt also showed up earlier, I think in book 1, maybe book 2, somewhere. He's been around, so I will see whether I like him more in this instance, because within Mistborn I feel like he's constantly just popping up in what seems to be inconsequential scenes and then doing nothing. So I want something more. Please, give me more. So I'm not entirely sure anymore when I last updated you guys, or, you know, where I was in the story when I last updated you guys, but I'm really still very much enjoying this. So we are currently at this sort of like ship thing that they have found, in which they have found Wax's sister. I, paranoid I guess as I am, suspect that his sister is actually working along with his uncle, and so that she wasn't actually kidnapped, but that she is actually just working along with him, and that she's now just pretending like she was kidnapped, or like she's working against her uncle in order to gain Wax's trust, but we'll just have to see about that. When we got on the ship, we also came across a being from another planet, and I would have to reread the description, I guess, to see whether we should know what planet this guy is from. But apparently what they're making is flying ships that can, go up into space. Now, that depends on whether they can actually go up into space, because if they can just fly, then it's a potential that this is somebody from Roshar, for example. If not, it can be like a lead up to Mistborn Era 3, which is going to be future timeline, and which is going to be all around space race, basically, kind of. It will be set in space, and so this element can be kind of the introduction to how they get to space eventually, how their technological advances get to a place where they're able to go to space, because that's actually one of the interesting things as well about this world, about Mistborn, is that it had a term. I know that Brandon Sanderson once used a sort of official term to refer to the fact that this is a magic world that does have elements in common with our world. I think earlier in this book, for example, Wax was mentioning that he ordered a gin and tonic, for example, which is definitely something that is very much from our world. And so this has been the case since Mistborn Era 1, that there are these elements in his world that come from our world, such as chickens, for example. And interestingly enough, within Mistborn Era 2, we've had it's explained to us that Harmony has been quite concerned about the way in which this world is evolving due to his manipulations, because there are a lot of technological advances that we know of, such as movies or radio or things like that, and that these technological advances that should have already taken place, that should have already been discovered, been explored, that they are running behind schedule, that this world isn't evolving at the pace that it should be, because of the way that the people are complacent, because of the way that he set up this world. And so that is a very interesting element, in my opinion, to put into this world, to have a world that is kind of modeled after our present day world, take it back ages in the past, and then manipulate the history so that it no longer, ends up in that, so that it no longer ends up being like the present world that you modeled it after. So that's just something that I find very interesting. In terms of the characters, I have just been fearing for Wayne's life, and maybe I should still be fearing for him, because I think I left it off somewhere in an action scene. But so, yeah, there was this moment in which, they were just shooting at him, whereas he was running out of Bendalonium. Is that the metal? Bendalloy? Bendalonium doesn't sound like the correct term. Bendalloy, I think it's called. Which is the metal or that he needs in order to heal. And so, yeah, Bandaloy. And so I was really starting to fear for him there for a second, and I love the way that then just like arouses Wax fury, that it makes Wax, jump into action, because, one of his friends is in danger, and he won't have that. He's definitely not going to allow that. There are some elements in this book that refer to other worlds. As I said, we have this character coming from another world, and I'm not entirely sure whether we're supposed to know from which world he is. As I said, it's potentially the case that he's coming from Roshar, for example, but there are so many other things possibly. He has a sort of like translation device, which definitely rings a bell, and I'm just like wondering if that's just like my poor memory that cannot remember in which book we have this existing, in which book there is a translation device that allows for people to understand people in other languages. It exists, right? Where is this coming from? But if somebody in the comments can let me know which book that is coming from. There are definitely also elements that are coming from other worlds. There's a device being used that is definitely been used in Elantris, and that is also popped up in Rhythm of War, for example. So we are seeing more and more connections here as well. And there are definitely also these sort of mysterious people running around from some sort of an organization who are researching elemency. And I think that that probably refers to Mistborn Secret History. So I don't remember whether I talked about those enough within my secret history vlog, but I'll link it in here in case you're interested. But there wasn't a lot of an interaction within this book, and I'm not sure whether that is the connection between the Bands of Mourning and Mistborn Secret History, because at the beginning of Mistborn Secret History it mentions that you shouldn't dive into it if you don't want light spoilers for the Bands of Mourning, but I'm still not entirely sure what the spoilers are for the Bands of Mourning that are in Mistborn Secret History. But as I said, I have a horrible memory, so maybe I'm just forgetting something major. I thought it was something major from Mistborn Secret History, and so maybe it's still gonna pop up, but so far it hasn't been what I thought it was going to be. But so yeah, I am currently about 315 pages in. I want to get some further 15 pages in today, and then I will be finishing it tomorrow. And I don't think I have much else to talk about, so I'm really not sure what I talked about last time and whether there's just some huge chunk of the story that I've now left off without really saying anything about it, in which case, my apologies. Hey guys, I didn't update you guys yesterday because I finished the book yesterday, so my thoughts. First up, told you so. I knew that this, what is her name? Telson or something like that? The sister of Wax in any case. She was no good. I knew it, but I didn't know was that she's actually the sort of leader of this organization of the sets. So that was something that I hadn't really realized yet, and so which I thought was an interesting twist. In terms of the way that the story progressed towards that ending, I really loved that whole Sanderlanche. It really was a good old Sanderlanche again. I don't think I had as much of a Sanderlanche feeling in the second one. And so I've been saying that I didn't really know what is different about this book compared to the second one that made me love this one more than I love the second one. And I think I just feel like with the second one, it was not as much tied into what seems to be the overarching story of the second era Mistborn. I think the sort of conflict with his uncle that was indicated from the ending of the first book made me expect for that to tie in with the second book. And in the second book, we only have brief glimpses of his uncle and what his uncle is doing to try and, thwart Baxillium. And so in that second book, I had more of a feeling of it being a disconnected case from the overarching case. And those are things that I, in case of the day sequences, don't really like all that much. I usually prefer for there to be more of an overarching plot to it. Secondly, I like the way that different cultures are coinciding within this one, the way in which different cultures are meeting, the way in which we're seeing elements from the Cosmere combine. What I also definitely like is that sort of Tomb Raider aspect to the ends of this book. I really like that sort of discovering of a temple and uncovering secrets of a temple aspect to a book. So yeah, that's definitely also something that hit me very well. In terms of the ending, when Wax is dying, we do get a resurrection trope, and I hate resurrection tropes, but I do like that he is given a choice, that he can choose to pass on or that he can choose to take up his duty, and that, he kind of decides to do that because that's just who he is. And the same way, I also like Morasi being the one who, first of all, gets to use the powers of the Bands of Mourning for the first time, but also how she for herself that makes up her mind that that is not what she wants. She does not want the glory. She does not want to be the big bad boss or anything like that. She doesn't aspire to those heights, and so she lets that power go in order to help save Wax. My heart was really kind of breaking when Wayne found out that his friend had died, and his response to it, and then being able to raise a gun in reaction to such strong feelings. So there's a whole lot to that ending that I really liked, and it really got me excited. I will say that I'm still I'm a little bit confused about this other culture that we've now introduced, these other people. I still don't fully know who these people actually are and how they connect to this whole Cosmere, because they seem to be part of this particular planet of Scadrial, but we haven't really found out about them up until this point. So I kind of want more information on these people to come in the future, but I'm sure that will be coming. And yeah, I don't know whether I have a lot more to say about the ending. I have a lot of things tapped. You can see in this case I dog-eared the book, and so there are a lot of dog ears, especially towards that ending. And so I kind of wanted to update you guys a little bit more yesterday while I was reading it, because as you might know if you follow me, I have a horrible memory and I cannot remember stuff for a very long time. So there are already a lot of things about that ending that are slipping away from my memory at this point in time. But so yeah, I really enjoyed it a whole lot, and I'm very much looking forward to the next book. And I definitely love the fact that we have a real bond establishing itself between Wax and Steris. As I said in the beginning, that's kind of the direction I wanted to see this book take, and so I very much love that as well. I think that is about all that I have to say about this book at this point in time. I hope you enjoyed this reading vlog and seeing through my thoughts as I go through this book. And so yeah, I'm definitely very happy that I ended up loving this one the way that I did, because I'm not gonna lie, it was really a struggle with the second one, and it made me want to not pick up this third one. So I'm actually very happy that I set myself this sort of schedule at the beginning of the year that made it so that I had committed to finishing this one this month, and so that made me pick it up, and that prevented me from procrastinating on it, I guess. But so yeah, let me know if you've read the Bands of Mourning. What was your reaction? Was it one of your favorite books in the series, or did you, in contrast to me, actually dislike this book compared to some of the other books within this series? And maybe also, what is your favorite character? I think Milan or maybe Steris is probably my favorite character. These two, it's a tie. I really love both characters and the sort of comic relief that they add to the story. But so yeah, on that note, I'm going to end this vlog. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and see you for the next one. Bye!